the decadent scent of him. And that was also new. Musk. The crisp freshness of citrus. A hint of pine. It ought to be a sin for a man to smell so divine. She inhaled, wanting more of it, more of him, growing bolder now. Her fingers slipped into his hair, which seemed a trifle longer than she had supposed, so soft and silken. The air around them felt as if it was shimmering with delicious, dangerous possibility. She forgot to be nervous and followed her instincts. This illicit tryst was far better than she had believed it would be already. And relief mingled with desire, her spirits buoyed by the undeniable pull between herself and this man. He deepened the kiss, his lips guiding hers open, his tongue gliding into her mouth, and the kiss turned into something else, something sinful and wickedly delicious. She made a sound of helpless yearning, clinging to his strong form, pressing herself against him, needing contact. Everywhere, her curves melted into his hardness. She felt as if she were aflame. Lucy had chosen her toilette with care this evening before she'd slipped from her guest chamber. She was wearing a simple bodice and skirt with only one petticoat for modesty and no corset. She was grateful for her lack of layers now, as she rubbed her breasts against his chest, her nipples beaded and aching, her body guiding her down this dangerous path from which there would be no return. She wanted his touch there, she realised, where it was wrong for any man to touch a woman who wasn't his wife. She wanted it, desperately. "Touch me," she murmured against his mouth. "Please." One of his hands slid from her waist, higher, higher, a slow and torturous movement that had her almost panting by the time he reached her breast, cupping it, his clever thumb stroking over her nipple. He kissed her again, taking her mouth with a raw ferocity that made her knees go weak. Losing her virginity wouldn't be so terrible, Lucy thought wildly. Not with this man, not in the magic of this charmed night. There had been a moment earlier when she had been preparing herself, when indecision had threatened to overwhelm her. She had questioned the wisdom of her plan. For half an hour, she'd convinced herself she would find a different means of thwarting Mother's plans. But now, she was glad she had come to the gardens tonight as intended. Not just relieved, but overjoyed. She kissed him with all the freshly awakened passion burning inside her, his tongue moving sinuously against hers, his other hand caressing from her waist to her bottom. He grabbed a handful of her rump and ground her lower body against his, and she could feel him, his hardness, the ridge rising to prominence in his trousers that meant he wanted her too. Between her legs, she was throbbing and shamefully wet, her drawers already damp. She wondered what it would be like for him to touch her there, for him to lift her hems and run his big hands all over her. He squeezed her bottom, making a low, gruff sound of pleasure into her mouth. This was what she had been missing, by being properly courted by stiff-backed suitors who salivated over her family's immense wealth. This was passion, pleasure, everything she longed for and read about in her books, everything she'd thought was fictional, forever beyond her reach. And yet, here it was. Or rather, here he was, kissing her, holding her, touching her. Lucy never wanted the night to end. Miss Lucy Chartrand kissed like a courtesan. Gareth Claremont, Earl of Wrexingham, general stickler for propriety, knew he shouldn't be surprised at the discovery. Rather, he should be horrified. He should also stop kissing her, thrust her away from him as if she were fashioned of flame, and he feared getting burned. And he would, just as soon as he could summon his wits and restraint, both of which seemed to have fled him the moment she'd thrown herself into his arms and sealed her lips to his. Because something had happened in that fleeting, unexpected span of time in the moonlight. Something strange and unwanted. She'd barreled into him with a complete disregard for his lack of preparation, nearly sending him sprawling to his backside with her atop him. But then, perhaps that had been her intention. There was no doubt about it. Miss Chartrand had ventured into